I volunteered at a place called Alpha House in Ann Arbor, Michigan before we moved here. And we volunteered about once every couple of months when our church would work at that place.
I volunteered at St. Martin's Food Pantry, and that was this summer.
Every year I volunteer. At work, I'm a letter carrier, and we, through our union, the National Association of Letter Carriers, we put on a food drive across the nation. So every year, the first Saturday of May is our food drive. And locally, we actually have 2 food drives. In Albuquerque, there's 2. There's one in November. Last year was my first year for the second one. But so I volunteered for that one too.
I volunteered in 1997 to about the middle of 1998 for the Catholic Charities homeless shelter, which is called the Samaritan House in Denver, Colorado.
So we would go for a night and we would serve dinner to whoever was staying at the house. So Alpha House was like a homeless shelter that families would stay at, and they would stay sometimes for weeks while they're getting on their feet. So we would go and we would serve dinner for the night, and then we would clean up, and then after dinner we would go down into this basement playroom and play with the kids for an hour while their parents went to meetings or job interviews or whatever.
It was right after soccer practice, and me and my best friends really just, love to do stuff for people. So me and Emma kind of were just like, we should just volunteer after soccer practice. So right after morning practice, we just went to downtown and found the volunteer place.
When I deliver my mail, we go on our rounds, on our route, we notify that we're having the food drive, and then we collect the food on the Saturday. So I collect the food, and then we take the food to the food banks, or sometimes they come to me.
I did various duties. One of the duties that I had was I would check in the homeless that would come to sleep at the shelter in the evening times. I worked in the kitchen, prepping food, and then I did a bunch of just miscellaneous office work, like typing things up and filing and doing reports that needed to be done.
Yeah, I enjoyed doing it. I would take my children with me, and so my children would volunteer and see that, that people have hard times, and so I think my kids learned lessons from it. We always just had a good time, as weird as that sounds, right? So playing with these little kids, and I think for me it would offer perspective that the little kids were playing with their homeless and they're living in this shelter, but they're just happy as can be. Like, I don't think they realized that they were living in a tough situation. So so I just kind of enjoyed doing it, and like I said, I was usually the adult taking my kids and then sometimes some other kids from our church. So it was, a way to teach them about giving back to the community.
We walked in and it was really awkward because it felt like we were so young compared to everyone else. But we were just like, can we just volunteer somewhere? And they're like you guys came on a perfect day because we really need someone in the kitchen. So we cut up fruits, kind of washed the fruits. It was honestly kind of sad though because they had such big buckets and a lot of the fruit was already overdue. So it was really sad having to throw them away because they already had so little. But it was awesome about that.
I met a lot of really nice people. It was really eye-opening to realize that there's that many people that are on the streets. One of the things, I think one of the experiences that really was kind of amazing to me, or I just couldn't believe it, was we had to do, every quarter we had to do an interview with the 40 men, because the shelter housed 40 men at night. But then it had another area that housed like families or mothers, single mothers with kids and that type of thing. But we had to do a questionnaire once a quarter on a specific night, and we'd have to interview each one of the men that were coming in. And this is not exact, but of the 40 men that would come in, I would say at least half of them were college graduates. And of that half, there was probably at least 7 to 8 of them that were, that had their master's or above in education, and were men that were established in their careers, and something tragic happened to them that made them decide just to let everything go and detach from their families and relatives and friends and become homeless, because it was a lot easier for them because they couldn't handle what had happened.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it really started as we were youth group leaders, and it was something that had already been in place that the youth group did, so we sort of just took it over as something that was already happening. So it's not necessarily like I chose it, but I would sometimes volunteer extra, like outside of the youth group, because we liked doing it.
When we were done like finishing prepping the food, we started serving the food, and it was just like so awesome to see all these people like get such a big smile just for having like one meal a day. I think the best experience was like when this little boy came up and he just asked me if we could have 2 plates please, because his mom couldn't get up to get her own plate, and it was just like, I was like, of course you can, and he just kind of like had the biggest smile because of that.
Well, it's a good, it's something that we can do for the community, and it's what is bad about feeding the homeless and feeding the hungry?
It was, I don't even really know why. It was just something, I drove past it so many times going to work, and I was just interested in, trying to do something that was meaningful and worthwhile. And I was not new to the town, because I went there to go to college to Denver, and that was in 1987. But I really hadn't met a lot of people and friends and that type of thing. And so I just wanted something that would, let me interact with other people, and just wanted the experience, I guess.
I do. We've been living back here in New Mexico for like 6 months, so I haven't really reached out to do anything like that yet, but I would like to find something similar here, or some other volunteer work to do.
I would love to volunteer again, because I just think that this world needs more people like to help out. Too many people are like a little too selfish about what they do, so I would love to volunteer again.
Yes, I've been doing it for 20 years, and I'll keep doing it as long as I can.
I'd like to go and help the soup kitchens and that type of thing. It's just really hard with a family and 2 kids to find the extra time and work.